Hello everyone, this is Eugene and this is my first EU4 War history guide. In this type of guides I will tell you about the main wars which took place in the world. Most of them will be about the European wars, but I hope I will be able to tell you about the wars in the other parts of our planet. This guide will be about the War of the Roses, the English Civil War which took place in years between 1455 till 1487. It was the war between the two houses of the English ruling dynasty of Plantagenets, the House of Yorks and the House of Lancasters. Why it was called so? Mainly because of the two symbols of these houses. The white rose was the symbol of the York house, and the red rose was the symbol of the Lancaster house. Speaking about the reasons for this war, we can name several of them. First was that English nobles were not really happy of losing the 100 Years' War with France. And they thought that the English king, Henry VI, was the reason for England lost this war. The second option, which was made the nobles unhappy, is the inside policy of Henry VI. More correctly, is that English nobles thought that most of the decisions in England were made not by the king but by his wife, Margaret d'Anjou, and her court. Most of English nobles were not really satisfied by this, and also, as I already said, England lost the war with France, and a lot of English soldiers and mercenaries came back to England, and the only thing they could really do in a good way was the warcraft. That's why a lot of English barons hired them in order to make their own personal armies, and these armies also reduced the loyalty of these barons to the English king. And finally, the strong pretender for the English crown had appeared, Richard the York. Thought he would be far more better king than Henry VI, and that he had more rights for the English crown. That's why in 1455 the war had begun. During the first battle, the York forces managed to beat the Lancaster army, and Richard the York took the title of the Lord Protector, and he should be the next king after the Henry VI's death. But unfortunately in 1460, during one of the battles, Richard was killed, and the new head of the York house had become his son, not a king, but just Edward. But in 1461 he had really become the king, the English king, Edward IV. At the same year, after several battles, after losing several battles, Henry VI was trying to leave the country, but he was captured and became the prisoner in the London Tower. Till the 1470 there were no active battles in England. King Edward IV was successfully ruling the country, but in 1470 he was betrayed by some strong nobles, and with the help of his nobles and the Lancaster forces, Henry VI was able to recapture the English crown. And Edward IV left the country and found a safe place in Burgundy together with his brother. He didn't stay there for a long time. Already in 1471, with the army of supporters, mostly mercenaries, he came back to England, and in one of the battles he killed the King Henry's son, Edward. King Henry was captured and suddenly was killed in the London Tower. After this, there were no male members of the Lancasters dynasty, and it was the end of this family. Most people thought that it was the end of the War of the Roses and King Edward will be the king for a longer period of time, but suddenly in 1483 he has died. The crown came to his son Edward V, but English nobles thought he was a bastard, not the real son of Edward IV, and the crown was taken from him to the Richard Gloucester, the brother of Edward IV. He had become the new English king, Richard III. He was the last English ruler from the House of York. He managed to rule only for 2 years. In 1485, Henry Tudor, one of the Lancaster's house member, together with the rest of the Lancaster's army and the French mercenaries, came to England and killed the Richard III in battle and became the new English king Henry VII Tudor, and found the new English dynasty, the Tudor dynasty, which were ruling England for more than 100 years. The last trial of the York House was taken in 1487. Last York forces tried to capture the crown, but this attempt was not successful. All the leaders were killed, and from now on the War of the Roses officially ended. The new English king was Henry the Tudor. That's all I would like to tell you about this war. I hope it was interesting for you, and now when you face with war while playing England, I hope it won't be just hunting the rebels for you. Now you will know the history of this event, and it will be far more interesting for you. Also, I will be grateful for your likes and especially subscribes for this channel. Also, I would like to tell my big thanks for my first subscriber, the first pioneer, the first volunteer who subscribed for this channel. I'm really glad for this. I can't have no even words for this. I'm really pleased. So that's all for now. Hope to see you here in my future guides, and thanks for your attention.